All right, hello Shelly, welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to make some pie crust, all butter pie crust, and it's going to be the easiest thing ever. I can't wait to show you because you are going to want to do this, and I want to warn you, you might be so pleased with yourself. So we're going to start by preparing the butter, and my favorite tool to cut it is the crinkle cutter because the butter doesn't stick to it and it's just super easy. And I'm all about, you know, being efficient. And so I'm gonna take my butter and cut it into quarters. I'm eyeballing it. So now my 1 pound, which is 2 cups of butter, is into half-cup portions. So when I'm serving butter, I like to serve it like that. Look how pretty it looks. And so how it's stored always in my fridge is always cut up into half-cup portions. It's ready to put on a plate or a bowl to serve. And if you're baking, you already know that you're dealing with half-cup portions. So that's my little hack. All right. So for this recipe, we're simply going to take 1 cup, actually, and I'm gonna chunk it all up here. You can see how nicely this just cuts it all up. And what we want to keep is we want to keep the butter nice and cold, and the quality of your butter does kind of affect this, so try and use good butter. All right, so here we go. Set that aside. Now next we're going to get the cooking blender, the pitcher out, and I have 1 cup of flour in here. So far, how you measure the flour, how we measure the flour, let me be inclusive, is important. So what I do is I have a separate scoop in my flour bin, I dump it in here, and then I level it off. And this measuring cup set is the dry measuring cup set, has a leveler, so, and it just is a really nice, efficient thing. So 2 cups and a half. This is the scratch pie crust recipe that's on the Pampered Chef website. I love it. It's easy, it's delicious. 2 tablespoons of sugar and 1 teaspoon of salt. Okay, so 2.5 cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of salt, and the butter and water. It's super easy. So we're gonna put this on here. Put the lid on, and I'm just going to use the standard, just basically, I just press the start button once. It's asking me what speed. I'm just saying, yep, speed 1 is fine, and start it. So all I'm doing is mixing the flour, sugar, and salt right now. And then I'm going to take this off, and we're going to add the chunks of butter. That's it. All right, so enough of the cutting in. It is, I believe, perfectly cut in. All right, if you want to look and see, that's what it looks like, just how it's supposed to be. And we're going to dump this into a bowl and just scrape that last little bit out. Okay. So we don't want the butter in here ever to get to room temperature, and certainly we don't want it to melt. Again, that's what this looks like. And over here I have some ice water. So I just put some cold water from the tap with some ice cubes, and I honestly don't measure this today. I'm gonna try. You know what I'll do? We'll do tablespoons. How about that? 1, 2, 3, 4. I usually eyeball this. 4, 5, 6. I know I need at least 6. Let's see. We'll grab a scooper. And we just want to kind of stir it a little. We don't want to be crazy here, because what we're trying not to do is develop really any gluten. This is still, what we're looking for it to do is to basically stick together. So it's sticking a little bit, like when I push it, you can see that it's sticking a little. It's not enough. My personal opinion, unscientific opinion, well, sort of quasi. So that's 8 tablespoons, that's a half a cup, is that flour in Canada has a higher gluten content. This is just all-purpose organic unbleached flour, by the way. And so it's just a different flour, and it requires more ice water than it calls for in recipes. Because I used to panic because I was adding like too much water, and you're not supposed to add all this water. Okay, that's 3 more. I hope I'm counting properly. And that might be just about what we're looking for. I think it is. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I use my pastry mat a little bit unconventionally. Move this all. And we're gonna dump this out. Scrape it backwards so you can see. And again, you notice I'm not touching this with my hands so far because I don't want to transfer the heat from my hands. It's just that simple. We want to work, relatively quickly. We don't have to be crazy or anything. But we just want it to have, we want cold butter, really. So I'm just kneading it, if you will, by grabbing the edges. You can tell it's a really kind of a thick, plush, silicone type of a mat. And we can get it all nicely mixed without getting our hands in there. We don't want to over mix it. And that looks good. All right, so it's all come together as a little ball. And what we could do is let it rest, but for the interest of this video, I'm gonna go ahead and roll it out. Okay, there's 2 other little tools I'm gonna use. Hold on 1 second. So first of all, the rolling pin, and second of all, this powdered sugar shaker, which I have flour in. And notice this wood piece is so that your rolling pin does not roll across, and off and fall on the floor. But it's also a bench scraper, so you can scrape it all up and pull it together. So I'm actually making a large pie. So I used a 2 crust pie crust, and I know I'm gonna have extra. So I'm just gonna go ahead and roll this out. The peril, really, it's better if you can rest it like for half hour in the fridge. It just helps the gluten relax because we did just work it a bit. And we're gonna go push down and out, middle and back, middle, forward, middle, back. So we don't wanna really go back and forth in one spot. So we're gonna lift this and just don't want everything underneath to be all like basically shaggy and make it stick there. So we'll give it, again, this is such a fine dusting. I don't know if you can tell that in the video. There we go. And it's running out of space. So So this, again, really big piece. I might regret doing it this way. Trying to get it so you can see everything. If you're finding that your crust is pulling back a little bit, that's the gluten. You want to just stop. Let it rest. But again, when you let it rest, it shouldn't rest so long that it, what am I trying to say? That the butter softens. So when you let it rest, just stick it in the fridge. And what this nice big mat allows you to do is basically roll it up and just store it in the fridge for a bit, cool it off. All right. So I am so running out of room. I might be regretting this. Again, you're not doing a video when you make your pie crust, so yeah, cut it first. So it's a little thick right there, but you can still see it's moving underneath, so it's not completely stuck to my mat. I have run out of space. Let me do this, hold on. It's a good thing you can't see everything that's going on over here. Yeah. All right, so the thickness is nice. What we're gonna do is just take it and fold it in quarters, and then we're gonna stick it in here and unfold it, and then we're going to let it sag down in. So the reason I'm doing this pan and this much, and I know it's too much dough, but this pan is an 11-inch, like a quiche pan, and so one times one of the recipe, like a single crust, it's not big enough, and double is too big. So I'm just gonna ease it in here, and then I'll show you what I do next. And again, this piece that I'm using is an old stoneware piece, one of the very first paper Jeff stones that ever came out, and it originally was called a deep dish baker because you can make deep dish pie, pizza in it, which is, you know, in Chicago style, and a little bit of heritage from paper Jeff days, if you will. That was its origin. And I'm just roughly cutting around the edge so that I have enough that's folded over, but not too much, so I don't get too much thickness. And now all this is bonus. All right, and so I'm just gonna take this, oops, you can't see. I'm gonna take this and just fold it over so that it has a nice little rolled top, and then we'll flute it. And then this is going to be ready to fill. I am going to rest mine now in the fridge while I make the filling. And this one is going to be a pumpkin, if you haven't guessed. And it's one of our favorites. All right, so everybody has their own style of fluting the edge. The reason you want to flute the edge is to finish it nicely and to also help it not shrink all the way down. And one of the perils of rolling it out first before you've let it rest is that it can shrink more as it rests. So that's why I didn't want to really stretch it at all, and I'm hoping that I didn't jinx myself. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my fingers like this and I'm just laying my knuckle in here like that to get this fluted little edge. Again, that's how my mom did it. You probably have another way of doing yours. And I'm kind of putting it back to help the fluted edge stay up on the top of the rim. There we go. And there we have it. One of the stories my mom used to tell is somebody who used to take her false teeth out and just go around the edge to make her pattern, which is just, it was horrifyingly funny. Yeah, kind of awful, but all right. Okay, this might need a little cleaning. Otherwise, I'm gonna have some smoke in my oven. So I'll give that a little clean up before I bake it. But there is our scratch butter pie crust. The blender did all the work for us. How easy was that? So easy, and it's such a delicious, flaky, tender, beautiful pie crust. And then with the rest, not sure what I'm gonna make. All right, we'd love to hear what you would make with it. Talk to you soon. Thanks for joining me.